So this addresses the question of how do you dare just take off like that and expect everything to work out?
Right. Well, I didn't know all these things until situation after situation came up where the strangest things would happen. Remember, we lost 2 transmissions. There were no transmissions in Europe. Well, what do I do when we lose a transmission? Go to a bar, sit there and look in the mirror and see sitting next to me a captain in the Air Force who, I'm looking at him and I'm looking at myself in that uniform. I turned to him and I said, hey, I used to wear the uniform. He said, yeah? I said, yeah. He said, well, let's have a drink. I said, you know, I'm here in Antwerp because my bus is broken down about 40 or 50 miles down the road. What I was really headed to do was I was heading that bus down to the Autobahn. I was taking a shortcut. And I was going to go over to the Autobahn and then go down the Rhine and then over the Alps. And I was going to end up in Verona, where I left my family living in a whorehouse. Wife and 8 kids. He said, that's not believable. I said, this is believable because that's the way it is. And would you believe there was a Dutch magazine had come out with their story right that week, and there it was on the newsstands, this Dutch magazine with the story. Well, it made it believable to him because it was like a couple of drunks talking until that point. So he said, listen, relax. I got a supply sergeant that knows where every piece of equipment I ever made was in Europe. He said, he's the man. He said, Monday morning we'll talk to him. Okay, so we had a meeting. I'm staying in this flea bag hotel next to the railway station in Antwerp because I didn't have any money. I'd left half the money with Anne, and maybe it was like $40 I'd left her, something like that. I had that much in my pocket. I had to go pick up the bus and do the whole trip with no money. Well, I come Monday morning, we went to the supply sergeant, and he said, he said, I knew with that transmission. We used them for school buses for dependents after the war. It's a 47 Ford Transit transmission. He said, there's one down in this town. It was the town I broke down in. So it was walking distance when the transmission broke. Good grief. And I came back to Antwerp because the Ford assembly plant was there. The Ford central headquarters for Ford was there. That's where the bus had landed. Because it was cheaper to send it to Antwerp. I couldn't send it to Italy because it cost about. I found a deal to get it to Antwerp. They put it on the deck of a freighter, so it cost $1,000. Otherwise, it would have cost $2,600, $2,000, something like that. So that's a beat.
But there was another time when we came back up to Holland where we blew it.
Right now.
Gordon.
Okay, now this is just on the subject of transmissions. I had the people in Antwerp that really turned on. He had a room full of girls on telephone to Detroit, to any place they suggested to find this transmission. And all I had to do is sit in this bar and run into somebody, and he tells me where it is. So that's a matter of relaxing through and finding that there is an answer, but it may not be where your biggest search is. Yeah, later it came out. I got that transmission put in the bus. I resumed the trip, went down, and it didn't really work well. And I knew I had to get over the Alps. But the Brenner Pass, which I was accustomed to flying over, bombing. I was a bomber pilot in Europe. The Brenner Pass I knew well. They had 276 heavy flak guns and all the paraphernalia lined up in the Brenner Pass. Well, I made it back to Italy. In Munich, I ran into a bunch of German fighter pilots, and we told stories about the raids I had done, and what they had done. So, bullshit. And I got really drinking, I think it was brandy and beer. Lethal. And they told me, don't get back in that bus. Don't drive. I mean, they said, these German police aren't like American police. They will take you right from here and put a needle in your arm, and they will know you got alcohol, and they will lock you up for sure, forever. Oh, it's just let me loose, because I've got to get over the Alps tonight. It was raining, and the bus brakes were terrible. And but I had this idea, I'm just going to drive this bus. So one fellow said, listen, I'm going to take you to Innsbruck, through back roads. So he got in, and he directed me back roads to Innsbruck. Well, over the Alps, and then I realized that we hadn't emptied the toilet, and now this was all during freezing season. Coming down out of the Alps, I had a terrific hangover. I was really boiled out of my mind, and I then smelled this toilet, which was just a 20-gallon can sitting in the closet back there, which hadn't been emptied in New York. And I was leaning out, driving this bus, leaning out the window, throwing up. And, oh my God, how am I going to survive this one? I looked down, and the thing is running out of gas. I mean, it's down on the empty. Holy smokes. I'm coasting as much as I can. Thinking, well, boy, I suppose there's going to be some traffic behind me or something. Maybe it was on a Sunday. There was not much traffic. And about that point where I think it's going to start sputtering, I look down and there's a service station, a Shell station, with flags flying all over the place. And so I just coasted into the station, and the fellow comes up to the window of the bus and he says, "Would you like a martini?" Just like that. I'm the first customer, a brand new Shell station. I looked over at the rack, the lift rack, and there were people standing all around, hors d'oeuvres all over the place. And here I was going to order 50 gallons of gasoline, their first customer, and he was just turned on, so was I. But that smell from the back, and I was dirty. I'd been working on that engine back in that place back there, putting in that transmission. Oh boy. So I said, yeah. So he brought me, like, it was vermouth, Martini and Rossi, and they call that a martini in Italy.
No gin?
I knew I was, no gin. So I knew I was someplace important, doing something important. Fill the tank. They said they wanted to see the bus. Well, it was just dirty as hell, and it smelled. And I couldn't ask them to empty this thing because I was too embarrassed to even open the door. So I quickly slammed the door behind me. I'm really grubby. They took me over, introduced me to all these people. First customer, took pictures, and with the owner of the station and this. I'd like to find those pictures. The Shell magazine would have it if they published a magazine, because the reporters were there from that magazine. Anyway, there I was, full of gas again.